Hello? This is he. Are you sure? Okay. Yeah, I'll be right there. I'm here to pick up Alden Call.
Are you his father?
Yes.
Did you fill this form out? We'll notify you of a court date within 30 days.
Dad, I know I messed up, and I know you're probably upset. I'm sorry.
Come on, bud. Let's get you home. Mom's gonna be worried.
Good morning. David, I hate to disappoint you, man, but Philip's not preaching today. So like with Trey, I'm obviously not as good a speaker as these guys, but I always have a leg up on them. And for Philip, it's that I got more hair than Philip. That's my leg up. He's got me on the speaking, but I got him with the hair, hopefully for a while. If you want to turn in your Bibles to the book of Galatians, that's where we're going to be taking our text from today. As I was studying this book, you can't help but see the theme of the word tradition and traditions. How many of y'all have traditions with y'all's families? Maybe it's a Halloween tradition where y'all get together as a family and you carve pumpkins, or you do something to decorate a pumpkin. That may be your family tradition where you do it without fail. You don't have to think about it. You do it. Or maybe it's something on Thanksgiving or Christmas. Well, I'm going to tell you one of my family's traditions. My family, without fail, always gets together on the Iron Bowl Saturday to watch Alabama and Auburn. Always, without fail. And after the game, depending on how it's going, we usually have Thanksgiving dinner. That's our tradition, without fail. And that brings back so many memories for me. Maybe some good memories of playing with my cousins or going out and throwing football with my family members. Bring some bad memories. My dad face down in the carpet crying after the kick six, saying, "Why me?" Which is a true story. Or me getting grounded or getting a beating there. Nonetheless, it's a tradition that we always acknowledge, and we always do. This morning, as we read Galatians, I'm going to tell you about an ancient group of people who loved their traditions. You see, long ago, before Jesus came to this earth, followers of God weren't called Christians. They were called Jews. And in order to be pleasing to God, you had to be a Jewish person. And if you weren't a Jew, if you weren't born a Jew, you were called a Gentile. So I don't think many of us in here have been born into a Jewish family. We're not Jewish. So we would be called Gentiles before Christ. Gentiles were not the group of people that were pleasing to God. Now, you weren't hopeless if you were a Gentile, because you could become a Jew by accepting and following the traditions of the Jewish people. And then a pretty painful act if you were a guy. I'm not going to go into detail about that, and that's where we get to in our story in the book of Galatians here. You've got this group of people that are very, very caught up in their traditions, even after Christ comes. So Christ comes, he creates a new church, he dies for our sins, and he says the old law is done away with. But this group of people, some of the Jewish people in Galatia, are wanting to still hold on to those customs. If you look in Galatians chapter 2, Paul, when he's writing Galatians, he's very emotional because he loves this group of people. Not only does he love them, but they love him. They even wrote to him that they would gouge their eyes out for Paul and for his sake. That's how much they loved Paul. And so Paul and this group of people, they have a great or a deep relationship with each other. And so Paul is very upset when he finds out that this group of people has forsaken the gospel that he's brought to them. In chapter 2, starting in verse 2, it reads, I went up because of a revelation set before them, though privately before those who seemed influential, the gospel that I proclaim among the Gentiles, in order to make sure I was not running or had not run in vain. But even Titus, who was with me, was not forced to be circumcised, though he was a Greek. Yet because of false brothers secretly brought in, who slipped in to spy out our freedom that we have in Christ Jesus, so that they might bring us into slavery. To them we did not yield in submission, even for a moment, so that the truth of the gospel might be preserved for you. The people here are missing one of the greatest blessings they could ever have. And it is, since Jesus died on the cross for their sins, they no longer have to be bound by these traditions, by these tedious, long, old traditions. And Paul is pleading with them right here. He's saying, Christ has set you free. You no longer have to abide by these traditions, these customs. Why would you go back into a life of slavery instead of a life of freedom in Christ? But some people did. They listened to these brothers that were caught up in their traditions. So why am I talking about this right now? Because I think that we can be the same way in 21st century Christianity. And maybe even some of us in this church. I think that sometimes our spiritual life has become just a tradition only, where you'll get up on Sunday morning and you'll get dressed just like you have your whole life. And you'll come to church and you'll sit in the same spot of the pew and you'll worship. But you only do this just because maybe it's a family tradition or it's become your tradition, your custom, your ritualistic act. Has worship become a ritual for you every Sunday? To where now you come in and you've already tuned me out. You've already tuned out the worship service. You're just sitting here now waiting for somebody to say amen so you can go to lunch. Hey, I'm as guilty sometimes, okay? Like I said, when I preach these lessons, it's a lot of times the stuff that I have problems with. But are you struggling with that? I think if we're not careful, we can fall into this trap of just going through the motions and becoming lovers of tradition only. My advice today is when you come to church, make worship a time where you give your time to God, give all your attention to God, where you sing out and you pray and you think about your life and you enjoy having this opportunity where you get to praise God. And most importantly, make the reason you're here be because of God. And a lot of times, I think we forsake that. You know, I see a lot of people coming to the church building less. And thankfully, COVID is over, so we have people coming more and more to church services. But I'm not talking about just church services. I'm talking about the functions of the church. And maybe not necessarily here at North Highlands, all right, but among churches in this time period. People don't come to the building as much. People don't come to church as much. They're coming less and less. People come less, but I think if we're wholeheartedly committed to our Christianity, we will be wanting to come more, right? We will be trying to come more. We've missed the whole point of Christianity. Our heart is not right with God. And y'all listen to this right here. I think if our heart is right with God, we should be trying to come to church more often instead of trying to see how many times we can miss church and our conscience be okay with it. Now, how many of us have been guilty of that before? You know, how many times can I skip church and my conscience still be okay with it? I think we all have struggled with that thought before. We should be wanting to come to church more. We should be wanting to have small groups, Bible studies, devos on weeknights. We should be longing to see and be with our brothers and sisters in Christ. All right, that's the whole point. It's not coming here, following a tradition, following a ritual, leaving and doing it the same week to check your mark off the box of coming to church. That's just a tradition. That's a ritual. And that's exactly who we are. We're being just like the people of Galatians when we fall in love with these traditions. You got to be committed with your heart. Okay? If we're not careful, we can fall into this trap. If we want to be a strong Christian, it has to become who you are, not just what you do. Okay, would y'all agree with me there? If you want to be a strong Christian, it's got to be who you are, not just what you do. Well, what do I mean by that? Look, I love playing sports. All right. If there's a football right here, laying right here, I gotta pick it up. I gotta pick it up. I'm probably gonna point at one of y'all, and I'm probably gonna throw it to you. All right, I gotta throw it in my hand. All right, I just love sports. If I see any type of sport being played, I gravitate to it. Anybody else like that? It don't matter what sport it is. I just gravitate to the sport. All right. And it's because that's who I am. I love sports. I don't know why. I guess, growing up with a family that loved to play sports. But it just became who I was. And so I don't have to think about, there's a game going on right here. I should go over there. I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean? Some of y'all are like this. Floyd, all right, he's a joke teller. He's going to tell jokes. That's who he is. If he hasn't told you a joke yet, you ain't met Floyd. All right? It's just who he is. Tim's a bully. All right, it's just who he is. If you see him when he says, "How you doing?" he's going to grab your arm and squeeze and punch you and elbow you and physically assault you. All right? That's just who Tim is. I've already gotten my beating for the morning. Okay? I think he was punching my shoulders or something. All right? Is Christianity a part of just who you are? Or do you have to sit down and force yourself to be a Christian? If that's the case, then I think we've missed the point. I wish that more of us were just more naturally Christians, where we didn't really have to think about telling others about God. We don't have to think about going to church. We don't have to think about studying our Bible, or we don't have to think about praying. We just do it because we're Christians. It just happens because that's who we are. And if you're not at that point, then I urge you to take strong consideration of your Christian life. Try to change. And it all goes back to what's your passion, okay? If you love something, if you're passionate about something, you will find time to do it. You're going to do it, okay? If I naturally love sports, I'm going to find a way to watch, play, or listen to sports because I'm passionate about that. Same thing for you. If you're passionate about something, you know you're going to find time for that thing. Why not it be Christianity? Be passionate about that. Let it become who you are so you don't have to try. You don't have to force yourself to go tell people about Christ. You don't have to force yourself to come to church. It just happens. All right? My second point, if you're following along in the bulletin, is one thing that we can gather from Galatians is becoming a family. You see the churches here that they may not always, been 100% on some of the things that were brought in and taught, but they were a family. And Paul encourages them to keep being a family. And I think in our church today, we need to become more of a family. We need to become more united. We need to become one. It's pretty apparent. I don't think this is a spoiler alert that our society is slowly morally declining. Who would agree with that? I was out to eat with my two girlfriends the other day. All right, Hilda and La Vega. Where you at? Yeah, I scared you there for a second, didn't I? And we went to eat, and that's one of the topics we talk about is how much our culture and our society has changed. And it has. And I think a lot of times it's not for the better. I think our morals are declining as a nation. And I think a lot of you would agree with me as well. We like to sit back and we like to watch our television, our social media, and we like to point fingers at what the problem is. Oh, it's this group of people. All right, it's this party. It's this group of people. And yeah, I think that's a big deal. But I'm going to tell you, I think the biggest problem in our nation is that we've lost the family and the family unit. I teach history at Austin High School, and so I was doing a unit on the Great Awakening, which is a spiritual revival, spiritual movement in the colonies during the 16 and 1700s. And so I love teaching about, religious movements like this because it allows me to get my foot in the door when talking about God in the church. It kind of is a get out of jail free pass. If I were to get in class and just say, hey, you need to follow Jesus, they're going to say separation of church and state, you're fired. And I got to pay bills. So, but I do fit it in there as many times as I can, and more times than probably legal. But this especially allows me the chance to talk about God. And so just out of curiosity's sake, and now granted, my classes are about 20 to 25 people. I said, just for curiosity's sake, how many of y'all go to church? I said, raise your hand if you go to church. How many hands do you think were raised? 10? You said 10? Who's got another guess? 5? 0. Not one hand went up. Out of 25 kids. Now, is that not the saddest thing you've ever heard in your life? Even more sad is when I look at these kids' transcripts, over half of them don't have the same last name as their parents. Therein lies the problem. It's the family unit. We got to get better at being a family, not just physically with our mothers and fathers and daughters and brothers and sisters. We got to become a family as a church, a spiritual family. In Galatians Chapter 3, see I'm doing on time. Oh, I'm good. I'm real good. Galatians Chapter 3, starting in verse 27, it says, "For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither slave nor free. There's neither male and female. For you are all two in Christ. You are all one in Christ." We have to identify as a family. We have to identify as one. Not only does our personal family need to be strengthened, but our spiritual family as well. Well, how do we do this? How do we strengthen our spiritual family, our church family? And I think one of our biggest problems is that we limit our spiritual relationships to church services only. How many of y'all would agree to that? For the most part. A lot of us, we only see the people here at church once a week, and that's when we come to church. Now, I'm grateful, absolutely. I'm grateful that we're getting to see each other when we come to church. But we limit our relationship to church only. You see in the book of Galatians, these people met in each other's houses. They were with each other, and some passages say they were with each other daily. I think we lose the family atmosphere that church brings when we limit our relationships to church only. So, how do we change this? How do we fix this? Well, the answer lies in itself. Don't limit the relationship to church services only. As a kid, I lived at the building. Now, mainly because my dad was a preacher, right? But I lived at the building. And so all of my social life had to do with church, friends at church, had to do with going to devos, going to youth conferences, going to camps. And it grew to where, as I got older, I started spending time with my friends, my church friends, outside of those events. We just meet with each other on weeknights, or we study our Bible with each other. And so we built a relationship outside of worship service. If we want to build a better family atmosphere, if we want to become united, if we want to become one, I think that we have to start having relationships with each other outside of just these church services. And that's what Paul was telling the people here in Galatians, how they needed to be one. Finally, my last point today is that not only do we need to take our personal spirituality seriously, we need to take our family seriously, but we also need to take our relationship with our Heavenly Father more seriously. Galatians Chapter 4 and verse 6. I love this verse right here. It says, "And because you are sons, God has sent the Spirit of His Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father." So what Paul does here is he brings deep reflection and deep emotion into what he's writing, because Paul fervently believes what he's writing. He knows it. He has a deep connection with God the Father. And you've probably heard the phrase Abba Father before, but maybe you didn't know exactly what it means. The term Abba Father is this cry, this emotional phrase of expression of a connection with our Heavenly Father. It means, I am yours, Father. Or it means, I will obey you, Father. That's what Abba Father means. And a lot of times I think we take for granted that deep personal relationship that we have with our Father. How many of you call your parent or your grandparent an endearing name? Okay, because it lets them know how much you mean to them. That's what's happening here with Abba Father. And that's a deeply emotional, personal thing to call God the Father. And Paul's telling us we got to have a deep relationship with God if we want to be strong and faithful Christians. Galatians 3 verse 9, Galatians 5 verse 1, Paul asks, why? Why are you going back to being a slave again to the world, following all these traditions, doing all these fleshly things, instead of being set free through Jesus and having a deep relationship with God the Father? So today I challenge you, think about your personal relationship with God the Father. Does it mean something to you? Or do you believe that He's just a figment of your imagination? Is He your Father, the one that you cry out to, that you spend time with? If not, I think we need to take time to think about our lives and to change. It's all about the heart. Is your heart right when you come to worship? Is your heart right with your relationship with others? Is your heart right with God? Don't be like the people of Galatians in the fact that they fell into their nonchalant customs, their nonchalant traditions. That didn't mean anything. Become a Christian that falls in love with Jesus and is set free by His power. I don't know what you may be going through this morning, sorry. But you have a whole group of people that are here for you, that are willing to pray for you, wrap their arms around you, because we are a family. Maybe you need to be baptized. Maybe you need to start your life with Christ. And that doesn't start until after you've taken the step to be baptized. Whatever the case is this morning, please come as we stand and as we sing.
Hello, my name is Philip Goad, and I'm privileged to serve as the minister here at North Highlands Church of Christ. You may have heard something in today's lesson that has you asking some questions, and we would be thankful for the opportunity to set up a time to study the Bible with you. You can reach out to us through our Facebook page, or you can contact the church office at 256-332-3315. We'd also invite you to come out and worship with us in person. Our Sunday morning worship is at 9:30 a.m., followed by Bible classes for all ages at 10:45. We have a Sunday evening Bible study at 6 p.m. and a midweek Bible study on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Again, you can connect with us via our Facebook page, through our website, which is mynhcc.com. Also, we have a food bank that serves Franklin County on the third Saturday of every month from 9 to 11 a.m. This is one of the ways we serve our community, and so if you know of anyone who would benefit from food, please have them get in touch with us on the third Saturday of each month between 9 and 11 a.m. Thank you for watching today, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon.
Hello? This is he. Are you sure? Okay. Yeah, I'll be right there. I'm here to pick up Alden Call.
Are you his father?
Yes.
Did you fill this form out? We'll notify you of a court date within 30 days.
Dad, I know I messed up, and I know you're probably upset. I'm sorry.
Come on, bud. Let's get you home. Mom's gonna be worried.